Well, it's Friday and you guys know what that means. It's another video. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Geoff Fagien, and you guys may have noticed that we switched things around a little bit in the studio today. The channel is obviously pretty new and we're still kind of trying to experiment, seeing what the best lighting scenarios and background lighting scenarios and angles of the room are, because I'm obviously filming these in my house and I want to try and make things look as cool as possible. But anyways, to the goal of today's video, today we're talking about the Osmo Pocket from DJI. I've had this for a little bit over a year now. I actually got it as a Christmas present last year. I really like action cameras. I don't use them too much in production work just because I've always found the image quality wasn't quite there unless you were doing a really quick cut, intermatching certain scenes together, like maybe using them as a crash cam. But even then, I still try to use a DSLR or a mirrorless camera or something like that. I was pleasantly surprised when I got this. It was definitely better than I thought it would be. And a year later, they've had a lot of innovations since when I first got this thing. So let's go over the pros and the cons that I've seen while using this thing as a camera. Now, first and foremost, I've used this mostly as a behind the scenes camera. I've brought it to shoots with me and I've given it away to people. And the really cool part about using this camera is it's very easy to use. So I can go give it to a PA or someone who's kind of visiting on set, and they can get decent video just using this Osmo. And because it's on the gimbal, it's pretty steady. So it's pretty cool to have BTS videos. One of the videos that I've used was the using indie equipment on a Star Trek fan film video, which you can see on the link above. And most of that was done with the Osmo. Now, watching that video, one of the things that isn't its strong suit is this thing is not amazing in low light. It can get you video, but it's not gonna be grain free, but it'll get the job done. Again, it's a small little camera, small little sensor. You can't really expect much out of it. In low light, one of the things I've noticed is the actual still images, especially now that this camera has RAW in it, as for photos. The still images definitely turn out better in low light than video. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're using the Osmo Pocket. Leading into that, they added RAW photos after they came out with the device. And originally for photos, I would take stills every once in a while. Really, the only still feature I used was the pano, because it would take a 9:9 photo and stitch it together in the app. And you could get some really cool photos with that. But I experimented with the raw photos, and it was just a pleasure to see the kinds of colors and just the clarity you get out of the raw photos was really great, especially compared to the JPEGs that I was getting. So if you haven't experimented with the raw photos, I would definitely give it a look. Of course, for video, the main two things I use when it comes to video is I use 4K 60 and 4K 24. I don't really use anything in between, and here's why. With 4K 24, you can shoot at the highest bitrate possible, which is 100 megabits in this camera. Depending on how you're shooting, you can get some pretty crisp shots, and this thing does create not a crazy shallow depth of field, but it does have somewhat of a shallow depth of field. I don't know if that's optically or if it's done via software, but it can create one, and the best way to get the sharpest looking images is to shoot that in the 24p with the highest bitrate on. And then when I'm doing things where I need slow-mo, but I still want that 4K, I typically will shoot at 4K 60. I have been experimenting with the 1080, 120 frames per second mode, and it's okay. It's pretty mushy. The only times I've really used the footage is when the lighting is really good and you're outdoors. Then using the 120 frames mode does have its benefits. It's not the worst I've seen, but obviously the 4K 60 is a much better quality image. So if you can, use the 4K 60. If the lighting's really that great, you can use the 120 frame mode. The other thing with the 1080 120 frames is it crops in, which can be for better or worse. Other than that, I've really just used this to take on vacations, and where this has come in my bag a lot, when I go on trips that aren't film related, I typically just bring my Osmo and my drone. I don't really bring a DSLR. I don't bring a mirrorless. I don't even really bring a GoPro, especially because I have the water housing for this, and it works okay. That is where I will lead into a little bit of the negative. Using this in the water housing, it can be limited. I actually end up using this in the tilt lock mode a lot of the times, which isn't meant for the water housing, but I like having that super stable look. And I'll leave that in the housing, I'll mess around with it, and then I'll have to take it out of the housing to switch the modes. So one of the feature requests is I wish there was a way where you can turn on the tilt lock mode when you're in the underwater mode, because the underwater mode that it wants you to use when you're using the water housing, it basically puts it in like a follow FPV type mode, which is great, but it's not as stable as using the tilt lock mode, especially when I'm filming wakeboarders and we're going doubles and I want to get that cool looking gimbal type footage. You need it to be on tilt lock mode to have that, you know, super stable cinematic-ish look that you don't quite get in the FPV mode. So that's one thing I would love, maybe if you can like tap the function button 4 times and turn it into tilt lock mode and then switch it back to the FPV mode. I don't know. There's probably ways to do it, so it would be really cool. But in the meantime, I basically just use it in the regular mode, and whenever it's not centered enough, I just double tap it to put it back in. But the other thing with using the Osmo Pocket is the audio. So when you're facing yourself, the microphone actually is not too bad, as it's got a microphone right here. And it's pretty decent. The microphone when you're facing the normal direction though is under here. So it isn't the best for family videos. It's, you know, it is what it is. But when you're actually trying to get like proper BTS, what I end up using is they have a proprietary USB-C to headphone jack. And so I plug that into here. I use everything from shotgun microphones to the small little Viltrox to also the Sokani that I've actually reviewed in the past. Using other types of wireless audio devices are definitely possible, but part of the problem is they're about the size of the Osmo Pocket. So really the only thing I've used that's actually usable as far as wireless audio gear is the Sokani or the Rode Wireless Go. So do keep that in mind. But if you're doing more professional BTS type work, I would absolutely get the adapter because it is needed to get that professional audio to the next level. When they announced the Pocket, I thought that they were actually going to announce a 1-inch sensor Osmo before they came out with the Pocket. Now the Pocket is great, but it would be great to have something that's a little bit more on the professional level that I can use and is pocket sized. You know, we just saw the new Insta camera that has the modularity to it, and one of the modules is a 1-inch sensor. Sony RX0 series, 1-inch sensor. Even the DJI Mavic 2 Pro has a 1-inch sensor. There is a demand. I don't know why GoPro hasn't come out with it. I feel like DJI will come out with it now that Insta has come out with the next, you know, 1-inch sensor action cam. So it would be cool to see. But anyways, this is kind of my, in short, experience of using the Osmo after 1 year. I still really like it. I still bring it on vacation with me. I still use it as a BTS camera for shoots because it's much easier to hand this off again than giving someone a DSLR. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Also, let me know what you guys think about the new studio. It is changing a little bit. I'm kind of changing around the lighting and the angles, so please bear with me over the next few videos as we do this. But until next time, my name is Geoff Fagien. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit the like, subscribe button with the notification bell, and until then, I will see you guys in the next video.